Great. Well, thanks for coming, everybody. I'm Keegan. I am the librarian for theology and ethics in the Divinity Library. So hi, Dean Towns. Good to see you. And so basically what I'm going to do is just kind of give a really quick introduction to Zotero. Do you all have it downloaded, like the application on your computers already? Some yes, some no. Okay.
I have some sort of browser extension.
Yes. Okay. So I'll start there then and just like how to get it in the first place. And then I will talk about how to add items to your library, how to organize those items, and then how to use the plugin in Microsoft Word to create citations automatically, which is the coolest part. It works in Microsoft Word and also Google Docs. So if you use either of those, it doesn't work in Pages or Scrivener or any of those other word processors if you use those. But okay, let me go ahead and I will share my screen. And we'll start with so just downloading Zotero. So this is, yes, are you all seeing my screen? Okay, cool. So this is just Zotero.org. This is the main front page of their website. If you click on this download button, it'll take you to this screen that has both the download for the standalone like desktop application, as well as the browser connector, add-on plugin, whatever. There's so many words for these things. So Chrome, obviously that's what I'm using. But then there's also browser connectors for Firefox, Safari, and Edge. If any of you are using Microsoft Edge. So you'll need both of these things locked and loaded to add items. Technically, you don't need the browser connector, but this is like the really cool, fast way to add things. So definitely do that. So once you have this all loaded, you have your Zotero library. So this is my Zotero library. You can see over here on the left-hand screen, just my library. And this is where it's just like one big dumping ground of everything I've ever added. So I've been using this application for quite a while for a lot of projects. So I have a lot of stuff in here. And as you add more things, you're obviously going to want to organize them. So I have, these are called collections. So you can add a collection, these like little file folders. And I have collections for individual papers that I've written. And then, what is this? This is a book chapter. This is more of a, just a general, like ongoing topic bibliography that I've created with even sub collections under that. So you can kind of like organize these forever to your heart's content. And then, you know, my big book project has a long, big collection. So you can just kind of play around and see what is the most useful way for you to organize your own stuff. But initially, everything's just going to go into your big library. Down here, you can also see there's group libraries. So if you go back onto the website, there's ways to do like collaborative libraries, which is really cool and can be really helpful. I often suggest students use this who are in a course together. They can create a joint library and kind of everyone can add to it. You can see, I won't go too much into this because it's really cool, but it's a little more, maybe the intermediate workshop would be that one. But like, this is an example of a group library that I am just a part of, anti-racism readings for academic libraries. And there's tons of people who are joined on this group library and add things to it from the whole field of librarianship. So that's really cool. And there's lots of different ways you can find to connect with people in Zotero as well. But for now, we'll focus on your own library and getting your own library together and adding things there. So there's,
Can I ask a
yes,
question?
yes, go ahead.
So I kind of know the answer to this, but Zotero is free, right?
Yes.
Okay. Why is it free? It seems awesome.
Yeah, no, it's great. It is an open source project that's created basically by academics for academics. And there are people who are constantly like working and creating little like they can, because it's open source, people can create codes that make it do cool things. And you can like add, I don't know that much into it. I'm not like that into that side of it, but there's also a really great forum, like message board forum. So if you ever need to do troubleshooting or anything, if you Google your question about Zotero, like it's on there and someone is working on it. There's also like suggestions for things that people want and like functionality that are not current, but sometimes will be. So for example, the Safari plugin is a new thing over the last, like since the last year or whatever. There's the longest time where there's only a plugin for Firefox. And then they added Chrome, and the Safari one is brand new, and the Edge, I didn't even know they had one for Microsoft Edge either, because who uses that? But so it's really like a community of people who are like Zotero heads, I guess, and are like super into it and like help each other out and also work to like continue to make it work.
Okay, thanks.
So there are three main ways to add items to your library. The first way is manually. So you have this green plus sign that says new item. If you click that, you have your like obvious item types right away. So a book section, which would be a chapter, a journal article. So those are the main ones you're going to use. But then you can go down to more, and there's basically anything you need to add ever. Tons of options for item types. So if you click on book, for example, it'll bring up this window with all of the fields, and you can just type in the title, the author, the place, the publisher, the date. You know, those are the basics that you're going to need. And you can be done. And that could be it. That could just be your bare bones item record. And you'll be good to cite it immediately. Obviously, you can add other things if you know it, the ISBN, the URL, if it's a link to somewhere, whatever you want. But the main thing, especially when you're adding manually, and sometimes this actually is, it seems like the more like time, like suck way to do it. But it's a good way because you can make sure everything is correct. So the main problem that people run into, especially when they're citing it, when they're using the plugin in Microsoft Word to create their citations or their bibliographies, is errors in your fields. Because basically what Zotero is doing is just taking all the data from these fields and then like using the code to create your citations. So you just have to make sure all of the data in your fields is correct. That's the main thing. So in that case, doing it manually is kind of the easy way because you can just like add everything correctly with your own brain and hands. Okay. So that's adding it manually. And then you can also add by magic. So this magic wand gives you, you can enter an ISBN, a DOI, or any of these other IDs, and it'll just enter everything automatically. So let me just, I have an example right here. 199735105. Hit enter, and here it is. Well, you can see I already added this, but everything is right there. So you can see it just added all that stuff automatically. And now I'm going to go back and just kind of double check and make sure everything's correct. So for example, like this, Reza Aslan did the forward. So he's not really the author. I don't really need him there. So I'm going to delete that. I'm going to go in here and, make sure it's fully filled out, Oxford University Press, but otherwise it looks good. This other stuff got added in automatically and that seems fine. Oh, the call number even got added in. That's kind of so that was the magic wand. Very magic, right? And then the last way to add, yes, Derek.
I'm going to keep asking questions.
No, please do.
I always worry other people are too embarrassed, so I'm just going to ask. So I think an ISBN, right? That's like a unique identifier for a book the publishing industry uses, right?
Yes. So, go ahead.
I was going to ask, what are some of those other things on that list? Like
right.
a DOI?
So a DOI is a digital object identifier, I think is what it stands for. So when we get to the point, we get to looking at, let me see if this one has a DOI. Yeah, so you can see this is a journal article, and you have the ISSN, which is it's like an ISBN for the journal that it's in, but you also have the DOI, which is going to be the identifier for this specific article. Most newer journal articles are going to have a DOI assigned to them, but not necessarily all of them, and not necessarily your older journal articles, especially if they're in print, especially if they're only in print. They're not going to necessarily have a DOI. Some journals and some publishers have gone and like retroactively assigned DOIs to journal articles, but not always. So you could do that. So let's actually go ahead and try that one. Because that's another thing. So I just added the ISBN because I had the book in hand, and the ISBN is going to be like right here on this like barcode thing that you've probably seen before, like on any book, it's going to have the ISBN right there. It's also going to be in the library record, and I'll show you that in a second as well. So you can copy and paste it. So let's copy and paste this DOI. So copy there. Magic wand, paste, enter, and there it is, ritual and recovery. All of this stuff got loaded in, and it looks good. I don't even have to do any cleanup on that one. Seems right. So super easy way to add items to your library. Magic wand, ISBNs, and DOIs. I don't actually know what a PM ID is. An archive ID is also, it's kind of like a DOI. If you're online looking at a record of an item, it'll be in that information somewhere.
Right. I think the STEM fields use archive IDs.
Yes, Anna.
So I have a couple of questions. I am in Spanish and Portuguese, so a lot of the titles that auto-populate will be in another language other than English. Sometimes special characters don't transfer really well. Capitalization rules are different in different languages. So how does Zotero account for that?
So I just flipped over. I do have a small bibliography going for Portuguese liberation theology. Okay. And so there are some diacritical marks in here. You can see that have ported over fine. So this item in particular, I got it from the library website and I did it automatically, which I'm going to show you how to do that right now. But it seems fine. But again, if you need to, you can go in there and just do it yourself. You can copy paste if it doesn't like import exactly correct. But let's see, this one's from the library website too. So these seem to have worked out pretty well.
Okay, thank you. And the other question I had is, I haven't used Zotero since I was a graduate student, so it's been a long time. I have an existing library. I'm not sure exactly what my calculus was in arranging all of these glorious collections that I'm now finding years later. But if I do need to cite these things again, back in the day, I was using another version of MLA rules. Since then, they have been updated. So does Zotero also have the latest MLA guidelines?
Yes, it will update automatically. Every new version that comes out, like Zotero will come out with updated, versions, just like any app on your phone or whatever, and you just update it like a regular update, and it'll have any new things for basically any of the citation styles. I'll show you in a minute when we get to the citations part, all the different options. It's pretty much anything that you need, and it does update.
Thanks.
Yes.
So I have a related question, which is, so I do a lot with Greek and Latin. And so one thing is, a couple times I've noticed that diacriticals aren't coming over. So what I do is I go into Microsoft Word where I can create them quickly and then plunk them back in. But the other thing is I have a lot of books that have like italicized words within them.
Mhm.
And I don't see that there's any way that I can italicize in there. Like if I have an article and I want another thing inside it. So I've been just using the extra line to tell myself later to go back and fix it. So I could go and search on it. But I was wondering if anybody is, since it is really for humanists, I can't be the only one who has this.
Yeah, that's why I'm looking through, because I know I have something in here that has a Greek word in the title, but I'm not seeing it.
For the Greek, we don't even really italicize because it's usually
Right.
so obviously Greek, but it's
Well, I was
been
saying like
happening a lot.
actually with Greek alphabet.
Okay.
Not transliterated, but actual Greek.
Yeah, the Greek works very well. If you can cut and paste it from somewhere, as long as it's ASCII code, the regular.
Yeah,
regular
but the
stuff.
italicized is an interesting question. Because I'm wondering, because you're right, like if I wanted to like go in here and italicize one of these words, if it was transliterated or something,
Yeah.
I could not do that. But you probably would certainly be able to do it in Microsoft Word once the citation is created.
Right. Yeah, so that's why I'm putting something in extra, and maybe there's a
Yeah.
better place to put it, so I could always, when it comes to finishing the article or the book, do a quick search and go and.
Right. I feel like you should, ideally you could just do it in here and then it would already be done, but I understand why that might not be possible also. Let me look into that and I can
Okay.
maybe get back to you too, because that is actually a really good question. And I think I should know that.
Okay, thanks. I had it written down but
yeah, for sure,
it was related to what Anna said.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So let me show you the last way to add an item, and that is with the browser plugin. So once you have your browser plugin all set, you might need to go to this little, if you're using Chrome, this little puzzle piece is where you have your list of extensions, browser extensions. And I like to keep Zotero pinned, so it shows up right here all the time. I don't have to go like looking for it. And that way, when I'm doing something, like I'm here on the library website, I find a book that I want to save. You could, again, scroll down and find the ISBN number, which is here, and then copy paste it into that magic wand, or you can use your extension. So you can see that button turned into a little book because it realized that this is a book, and you just click it and you can save it to your library, or you can save it to any of your other collections as well. And there it is. So this one, so you can see, I'll show you this because I already had this book in my library, but this highlighted one is the one that I just brought in. And you can see there's a little bit of cleanup I need to do because the editors didn't really show up right. The title is a little bit weird. I had to like go in and delete that. I had to add these other authors individually, one by one. But other than that, everything got imported really easily. The same thing goes for journal articles. So here is a journal article that I just found in an EBSCO database. The browser button turned into this little piece of paper, which apparently signifies a journal article. And if I just click that, it saves it. Well, I guess I need to choose this. And it'll save that. And it will also, it should. Okay, so this brought in all the information, but it didn't bring in the PDF. So this is the really cool thing about it, let's just find something else. Oh, maybe that's why. It's my thing timed out, of course, because I was like, let me be smart and get an example all set up, and then my login timed out. Okay, so let me find something that has a full text PDF. Okay, so this has a full text PDF. You click the button, it'll save it to the library, and it'll save it with, no, why didn't it do it? Oh, maybe it just needed a second. There we go. It took a second, but the PDF is also saved with the information and the citation. So you have all of this information, and then the little caret, you can click down and get to PDF. So this is a great way to also save PDF, so you don't just have like a big folder full of PDFs. You have the PDF attached to all of its information.
Does it save the PDF or does it just save a link to the PDF?
It kind of depends. I think you can do either. Because it will actually save the PDF like in, oops. I don't know where exactly it saves it, because it can be saved onto your computer, or also in the cloud, because Zotero is also like, there's a web-based version of it. And so I'm not really sure how that works either, but it's still a really good way to like keep everything together and organized. I see there's a question.
So I tried it, and if I right click where it says full text PDF, if I right click that, it says view PDF, and that is a local copy.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So cool.
Oh, yeah. So I know this proxy question thing. It basically makes it so that when you add things, when you use the plugin, that it's automatically going through the proxy. So yes, you do want it to do that, because otherwise it's going to like ask you to log in 100 million times.